So on the first pack we used to, it's the first time that we did this pack, we did this boss, so we went really careful. We had the 2 engineers, including myself, along to see the 2 mobs that were CCable. You'll recognize on the mobs that you'll see 2 of them that don't have the anti-CC debuff, all the others do have it, so you know fairly quick which ones to long CC. During the combat on the first pack you'll see a lot of AoE going on at the same time because of the answer castings all the time. It's not a big deal, just rotate your defense buff from the engineers, from the supports basically. You'll see damage isn't that great on everybody, it's just some random AoE damage all the time. Now the catch here in this pack is that there's a certain mob in this pack. Now I can't really say names because I have no idea which names these mobs have, but certain mobs have random aggros that specifically run for certain players, indicated by the lightning strike. So a lightning strike is gonna happen on the player, followed by the mob running towards that player in order to one-shot him, basically giving a basic attack, which is so big damage that you should one-shot die. It's up to the tanks to taunt that mob back to them as soon as they see it run away from them. AoE taunt is a safe thing to do, but it's a long cooldown, so it's not reliable. It's just when you panic, emergency, you don't find them up quickly to taunt. Single taunt is the best way to go. We used 2 tanks here, Demo and Warrior, doesn't matter really the class. It's about that we have 2 tanks, meaning we had 2 single taunts every, let's say, optimized to 7.5 seconds, and we had AoE taunts. We had 2 AoE taunts in case something went wrong, so we could always taunt them up back to the tanks, preventing from them to attack the other players. You see also debuffs on people, like some fire dot. It's not a big deal, just purification is enough to cleanse it. And of course you need to avoid the circles on the floor with the frost. Now as you can see in the video, it's also pretty badly done in how we do it now, but as how we do it presently, it's much better. You should tank the mobs on one of the pillars, on one of the laser tower thingies, so that you also benefit from that AoE on those towers. So it's better to make your tanks tank the mobs on those towers so that your AoE doesn't go to waste, and also benefits on the tower there. As we do it right now currently today, we kind of don't long CC anymore, so we pull everything together and AoE everything completely and simply rotate our CCs. Now a really meta thing in the current patches that we have right now is that there's so many engineers. Everybody has spider suppressor, which is increasing the damage by a lot. From all the engineers together, it's increasing by 20%. Every 6 seconds you use spider suppressor, and it's also crowd controlling all the mobs around, so it's an AoE CC for about 4 seconds disorientation effect. So that's amazing to rotate when you have so many engineers in your raids. You can literally just do spiders all the time, one at a time, about every 6 seconds. The chance that you get that somebody dies while you rotate spider suppressor and giving the enemy basically a gap of 2 seconds to do something on your raid is so minimal that it's working so well. And then on the following pack we have pretty much a similar thing going on, but you'll see that every pack that we fight, so that you will fight, there's going to be a slight change in some monsters and what they exactly do. So here on this pack you still have the AoE circles from the frost elements that you still have to rotate the defense effect on as much as you possibly can. And as you can see on the other casting on my my cool buffs, there is some flame casting going on. Now the flame casting is basically one of those casters in the back is throwing a fire arrow at somebody in the raid, and the fire arrow is a fire dot that's just ticking down, damaging over time. Not much. Now the trick here is to not actually purify that dot, because if you do purify, it's going to be purified from that person, of course, but it's going to jump over to anybody else that is in the, close enough to him that had the debuff. So for example, if you have 4 players around that one player that has the debuff, that person gets purified, he will get rid of the debuff, but the 4 other players, as you can see here exactly what happened in the raid interface, are getting that debuff instead, and that's how it spreads to the whole raid really quick. So it's better for the one person to sit out the damage, simply rotate his shields and not get purified rather than purifying the dots itself. For everything else, it's pretty much standard same thing on the pack, simply AoE, and that's really it. Then we got to the northern pack, which is the third pack in this case. Now this pack is exactly the same as the first pack, so you have the thunder trucks where the tanks have to bounce the mobs back to them. You have the AoE frost circles that you need to rotate your defensives on, and you have the laser towers that you simply need to need to just tank the damage and preferably put the mobs on the laser towers again to avoid wasting as much as possible AoE. And that's really it on this pack. So we're gonna quickly move forward to the next one. Then we finally arrived at the last pack for us. It's the Eastern pack with the Dreadnaught mob, as you can see. Now everything still is the same. You have the lightning attacks that happen where the tanks have to use their towns to keep them with them. You have these extra attacks from the Dreadnaught going on. What is going on exactly? He has this charge attack that he's literally charging on people in a straight line. Everybody that's in the route, in the path, gets either killed or takes a lot of damage. And he also shoots bombs around it. As you can see the casting on the cool buffs, you can see that he's casting that he's gonna charge, so you can see from there whether he's gonna charge or not, and whether you have to pay attention to him or not. And as you can see also on the blue castings on the cool buffs, he's also firing bullets on the floor where you have to avoid simply the circles. Now we've tried different tactics. We have tried focusing all the trash down first, just avoiding the Dreadnaught. We have tried focusing the Dreadnaught first and hoping the tanks can sustain long enough with all the ads on them. Now the most effective thing we found is fully focusing on the trash, because the trash is killing people really easily with the lightning attacks. So the lightning attacks that are happening on the party, at some point it's really hard for the tanks to keep rotating towns for so long that there's some kind of gap at some point where they have both cooldown, and then you have people starting to die because you can't taunt them up back to the tanks. While for the big guy, the Dreadnaught, you can simply avoid him by simply avoiding him, and also simply avoid the bullets he's firing. So those are two avoidable things he does that you can't really die on. We've wiped about 5 times on this pack until we finally got it down, so I would suggest you to do trash packs first in full AoE, and simply pay attention to the big guy, avoid him when he's charging like you do bullfighting, and that's really it on this pack. It sounds simple, trust me, we've tried it a lot of times. It's not as simple. If you do it first try, congratulations to you. I guess your raid is good at organized 10 and you're doing very good job. We had trouble doing it 5 times, was our lucky attempt. Alright, and finally on the boss fight, we have some quite interesting new mechanics that we haven't seen before really, because Allods like to recycle mechanics, as you noticed. So first off, the first important thing is that you'll see these items on the floor that you can interact with around the boss area. Now these things will be interacted with in order for to protect the person that gets charged at, and to freeze the boss whenever he's charging at the person. Very important to never be behind the tank, because when you go behind the tank you're going to be hit by the fire arrows that the boss shoots towards the tank. As you see, the person that gets targeted by the boss is going to be charged at. That person has to be behind a laser and trigger the laser on the floor, so that the boss flies into the laser and electrocutes himself probably, so he freezes and doesn't hurt the person. If he does manage to miss the laser, then he's gonna go for a big AoE, apply some kind of debuff on the whole raid, and also buffs himself. If he does it the second time, it's a guaranteed wipe. Every time after the charge, there's gonna be balls spawning on the boss area. Those balls have to be taken once by each person. If a ball is left alone for too long, it's going to explode and it's going to wipe the complete raid as well. And it's going to rotate all the time between charging balls several times until the boss hits about 60% health. So you need to be really thinking ahead of time and already know what's coming next, so you can be on the right position because movement and position is really important on this boss fight. If you're not on the right location, if you're not on the right position at the right time, you might fuck it up several times by your raid and have it wipe easily. Important to know as well on the ball phase is that one person can only take a ball once, and if you manage to take the ball, you will see that you get a debuff for about 8 to 7 seconds. When those 8 or 7 seconds are still up and you take another second ball, you're going to be dying instantly, one shot, because it doesn't allow you to take 2 balls at the same time. Another important thing is that when you take a ball and there's an AoE going on around you, you're also going to apply the debuff to people around you. So if somebody is close to you, which happened quite often to us, and that person that was close to you is running behind you to grab the second ball, that person will die because he'll have the debuff. So it's really important to be ready at the position where the ball will spawn before it spawns, because if you still have to run to that ball before it spawns, then you're probably already too late. You're gonna pass the person that grabs the ball and you're gonna get the debuff before you get to your ball in the back. So once this boss gets to about 60%, you'll see that the face changes. And the face changes in some kind of pizza form. So there's gonna be the area of the boss will be divided into 4 slices, and only one slice is going to be safe. All the other slices will be dangerous. So it's really important to look where you have to go. Now in this phase, it's important that everybody stacks up as close as they can towards the boss. The tank of the raid faces the boss away from that raid because it's important with the fire arrows. As you can see there clearly, that you're not behind him. And during this complete phase, the boss is gonna throw fireballs on the furthest person away. So that's usually our healer or a support that stays the furthest away. And after getting the ball, the person needs to get purified really quick, or he will die as well. Now it's important to note that also whenever he puts this ball, it's gonna leave an AoE, so everybody that's on top of the AoE will die as well. After the phase changes, he's gonna do an AoE that snares everybody, meaning that, well, the game's trying to make everybody snare, so when he does a pizza phase again next time, it's gonna leave people snared and they're gonna get caught in the fire area where they will die. So that's where you need the mass purity from either the engineer or the bard. After that, it's gonna continue the same mechanics again. So very important, as you can see here, we fucked up, but it's really important that that person that's always staying far already knows ahead of time that he has to go far, or he's gonna be launching the ball on the raids, and then you get some drama like this where you put balls on your raid and your raid might wipe from this. So really important to always think ahead on this boss. I noticed that if you don't know this mechanic or tactic on what the boss is gonna do next, you're probably gonna die even if you realize what to do. It's usually going to be too late. So here's gonna do the snare AoE again, because the phase changes. This is the last phase. This is the phase where he's gonna do there's gonna be 3 possible different runes that you will see that the boss is gonna cast, and everybody in the raid needs to grab all these runes that are on the floor. I think there's gonna be 3 runes together within some kind of time period. If that doesn't happen within that time period, or somebody takes the one wrong rune, it's gonna be a wipe as well. One thing we usually fuck up here is that people are spread too far from the boss, so when the runes are spawning, and a rune spawns on the position where somebody is at the moment, and if this happens to be the wrong rune, it's also a wipe. So really important is that the whole raid stacks beneath the boss, or as close as they can towards the boss, so that no one risks getting a wrong rune by accident, and that you can still see what rune he is doing. Now it helps a lot if you're on vocal, via TeamSpeak or Discord, that somebody calls out what kind of rune it is. For example, here's the exclamation mark that we call it, that people know which one to look for and to grab, and it's important not to grab the wrong one. If somebody manages to grab the wrong one by accident, or if he just runs into the wrong one on purpose for whatever reason that may be, it's gonna be a guaranteed wipe on the whole raid. Now there's 3 different kind of runes that there can possibly be. Is the exclamation mark that we call them. Then we have the praying guy, it's kind of some guy in a praying mode that we call, and there's gonna be someone like number 4 as a rune. So those are the 3 different possible runes that you have to go gather as a raid. And once you pass this phase, well then it's a good kill. It's a good boss fight. I really like the mechanics. It's really a raid thing. Everybody has to do something. I like that the boss fight gives it a challenge to everybody that participates in the raid. I like that everybody has to do their part in the raid. I really like the boss fights. It's not something boring as compared to the first boss in Night Citadel. It's honestly quite boring because everybody has to just stack up and just bank attack for like 10 minutes.